Hello, I'm Vonda Adams, Math Achievement Gap Specialist at the Kentucky Valley Educational Cooperative. In a previous presentation, I discussed the updates for kindergarten and first grade math standards. Today, I would like to focus on the updates to the second and third grade Kentucky academic math standards. Let's begin with second grade. The first update in the standards is within the Operations Algebraic Thinking domain, OA.2. It involves removal of the statement, by end of grade 2, know from memory all sums of two one-digit numbers. I feel that the rationale for the removal of this wording was to emphasize that the students are to use mental strategies to become fluent. Fluency is not memorization. The next update in the second grade standards is within the Number and Operations in Base 10 domain. NBT.2 not only requires the students to count forwards within 1,000, but to also count backwards. Please note that the addition of counting backwards to the standard is intended to increase the students' number sense and flexibility with subtraction. NBT.7a now requires that students relate their drawings and strategies of addition and subtraction within 1,000 to expressions and equations, emphasizing the need for students to know the difference between an expression and an equation. The Measurement and Data domain has several updates. MD.4 requires the students to measure and express length in either customary or metric units. MD.8 refers to solving word problems with adding and subtracting within 100. Please note that the problems are not to use dollars and cents simultaneously, and students are to use the dollar and cent symbols appropriately. In MD.9, you should note that there is an emphasis on identifying a statistical question based upon measurements. There has also been a change in vocabulary. The line plot is now referred to as a dot plot. A final change to the second grade standards was in the geometry domain. G.1 now states that the students recognize and draw shapes having specified attributes, such as a given number of angles or sides. The wording number of faces is now specifically referring to the cube. The first update in third grade is in the Operations Algebraic Thinking domain, OA.1, now specifies that students are not only to interpret but to demonstrate products of whole numbers. OA.2 also requires students to demonstrate whole number quotients of whole numbers where objects are partitioned into equal shares. OA.7 involves the removal of the statement, by end of grade 3, know from memory all products of two one-digit numbers. Again, I feel that the rationale for the removal of this wording was to emphasize that students are to use mental strategies to become fluent with these multiplication facts. Remember that fluency is not memorization. In OA.8, there is once again an emphasis on the use of various strategies to problem solve, with the reminder that these two-step problems involve only whole numbers with whole number answers. The Number and Operations fraction domain update in which students can now explain why simple fractions are equivalent through not only drawing but also writing. The Measurement and Data domain also had many updates. MD.1 now includes telling and writing elapsed time to the nearest minute while solving addition and subtraction word problems involving time intervals within and across the hour. MD.3 expects students to not only interpret data, but to identify a statistical question focused on categorical data, then gather the data and create a scaled pictograph and scaled bar graph to represent the data set using technology or by hand. MD.4 again requires the students to identify a statistical question that is focused on numerical data. Please note that the term line plot is now referred to as a dot plot. Students must also make observations from the graph about question posed, including questions about the shape of the data, and compare responses. The final third grade update was made to MD.8, which now requires students to find an unknown side length given the perimeter and some lengths. Standards for mathematical practice define how students engage in mathematical thinking. One of the most important updates to the standards is the detailed examples of how the standards for mathematical practices relate to each of the standards. On the screen is the third grade Operations and Algebraic Thinking Standard, OA.7. You can see that not only is each mathematical practice listed at the top of the standard, but there is also further explanation of the use of the MPs at the bottom of the page. Each mathematical standard also now has clarifications and coherence. If you would like to take a further look at the standards, you can do so by visiting the KDE Standards website at kystandards.org or clicking on the direct link provided on the screen.